Okay, call the meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. I'm up here with Dana. Let's room up here with Dana.
In front.
In front of you.
So do you want to sit down?
Okay, well, welcome, everyone. We'll call the meeting to order. Your consideration for approval of minutes. One. Yeah, any further discussion or questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Approve 4B, approve the minutes for the special meeting we had on March 21st.
Second.
So, any further discussion or questions? Not all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried unanimous, thank you. Okay, schools and conferences. Under 5A and B, both payment of claims on the schools and conferences. Any questions on those?
So moved.
Paul,
Second.
Sue, any further discussion? Not all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried unanimous. We're gonna jump down to 12E. Well, consideration for point lineman apprentice Justin Young. And
So Justin was with us, he left for about 6 months and now he is back and we need to approve his hire, though he started on Monday.
that's what they.
And then with him, we have Justin, who is our new foreman for the light department as well. We just want to bring up the explanation.
Donnie, Paul, any further discussion or questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. We want to, does everybody know Justin? Or do you know who everybody is here, Justin? Okay. Justin, how about you, Muncie, go around to know Justin who we are.
Sue Craig.
Hannah Ruffey,
Steve Simon.
Amanda Glass.
The city attorney, Gary Stone.
Chris Burley.
Yes.
Donnie.
Eugene Hildebrand.
Welcome, both of you, welcome back, Justin, and everybody, so thank you very much for coming back. You can see this thing change. Okay, 10A, consideration for approval of vending wagon license, Contra Mars, Costa Rica.
Everything is in order with his vending license, and they will work with the city on locations that we offer electricity for setup, and it looks like their hours aren't 100% set, but they are going to be less slightly.
Yeah.
Everything's in order.
Yes, and they also have a generator, so they'll probably use the generator and not hook up anymore.
How will we know if they use a generator or hook up? I mean, if they decide to show up whenever.
We'll be able to tell by where they're parked, because there's not a lot of spots where they can hook into, say, electricity.
Okay. Just by, somebody doing a drive-by or,
We can make sure there's not electricity or.
I see.
Correct.
Monitor. Okay,
Yes.
all right, thank you.
Yep,
So moved.
Paul,
Second.
any further discussion? Not all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried unanimous. Okay, old business, 11A, consideration review ordinance for Centerpoint Energy franchise. This is a second reading of this. You want to add?
If this gets approved this evening, it would go in publication of the newspaper April 14th, and it would be adopted at that point.
That's a renewal, because their renewal, their 25-year franchise is up, so it's renewal.
So moved. Dispense with the reading.
Paul,
Dispense with the reading.
9. Any further discussion or questions? Not all in favor, signify by show of hands. Opposed, resolution passes 5-0 unanimous. Real ordinance 7199,
This again was when we reviewed and adopted our new ordinances, this was one that got, kind of left behind, and we want to change, all the penalties to read that they're, established, via resolution by the council rather than having to change our ordinance every time we need to change a fine. So again, this one also, once adopted or approved tonight, it will go into the publication on April 14th, and at that point it will be adopted. And we will remove that section from the ordinances and replace it with the correct verbiage.
Can you explain just a little bit about what that is?
We took all the fines and fees out of our ordinances, and the council adopts them on an annual basis via resolution, and we had to change our ordinance in order to do that.
So we'll dispense with reading.
Second, dispense with the reading.
Lonnie and Hannah, any further discussion or questions? Not all in favor, signify by show of hands. Opposed? Resolution passes 5-0 unanimous. 12A, consideration for resolution for the 2022 taxiway and apron improvements at the airport.
So this resolution is accepting the bid, the low bid with Makowitz Construction out of CPI, Minnesota. They were significantly under the engineer's estimate, which was actually really awesome to see, being where everything's kind of inflated. So their bid came in just over 1.7 million. In the engineer's estimate was 1.9. I also included, just for your knowledge, the map, because right now we have a couple of things going on at the airport. Because of COVID, we weren't able to start our 2020 project, and that finished up just last year. We started our 2021 project in the fall, and that will be completed this spring, and then also this spring we'll start the 2022 project, which is slated to finish this year. So there's kind of a lot going on, so I included a map, color coded, so you can see what things are being worked on for what year. And then I also included our CIP, which is a capital improvement program, an update as to what projects at the airport are slated for the next couple of years, what the funding request looks like, and who is paying for what portion of the project.
This is federal money, again, it's 90-10, however, it looks like we're gonna be 90, and then 5 and 5. Feds pay 90% of the cost. The state pays approximately 5% of the cost, and our local cost is approximately 5 to 6%. So that's what it's funded. It's funded for if you bought an airplane ticket tax on that, or airplane fuel. That's how the money gets into this FAA fund for airports, just for everybody's information.
So moved, dispense with reading.
Second, dispense with reading.
Sue, any further discussion or questions? Not all in favor, signify by show of hands. Opposed? Resolution passes 5-0 unanimous. So B, a grant agreement for the taxiway neighborhood.
So again, this is going on for the 2022 airport project. The grant agreement, you need to approve in order to actually receive the funds. We need to have an agreement with MnDOT. I attached the letter from MnDOT along with the proposed breakdown of funding and where the funding is to be used. So we just need approval for that to move forward.
And that explains the breakdown of the 90%, 5% state and 5% federal.
So moved, dispense with reading.
Hannah, special reading?
Sure.
Thank you. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor, signify by show of hands. Opposed, passes 5-0 unanimous. 12C, resolution for donation amendment.
Donations to the city need to be accepted in resolution form. We received $200 from the DFW for Adopt a Pop program. We just need to accept that via resolution so that we can spend the money.
So we'll dispense with reading.
So,
Second, dispense with the reading.
Paul, Mr. Evans from the VFW, Amanda said $200 for Adopt a Pop program. All in favor, signify by show of hands. Opposed, passes 5-0, unanimous. And thank you to the DFW for their donation as well. Okay, 12G, consideration review agenda request cleanup, same change, Dana and Anderson.
Yes.
Yeah, come on up.
All right.
Welcome.
Thank you. All right, so if you guys don't know me, I am Dan Anderson. Just gonna inform that I have, the reason I'm here is what you just said, is to clean up the town. I do have, if I could hand out some pictures, is that
Absolutely,
work
absolutely.
to hand out? That one. No, I'll bring this one into it. Just some pictures that, I mean, just going around the town and just seeing, some of the stuff that isn't,
Beyond diplomatic answer is it looks
Okay.
like shit. Is it looks like.
so the issue is the debris, the stuff around people's houses and, that I think we have some people here that, feel the same way. Just kind of wondering what is maybe the city's plan to correct some of this. Yeah, it's just we need more people to come in and it doesn't look pleasable to some people, so.
Most people.
Yeah.
And I would agree with that. So in last year, 2021 was the first year that the city, I shouldn't say ever, but in numerous years that we've actually imposed fees and fines for code enforcement violations. So that's kind of the first step that I was trying to implement. You know, these properties have been this way for a long time, and it's going to take some time to get them cleaned up. There is a lot of debris and a lot of code violations that are happening. I'm not sure if everyone knows, but Bill has retired and we're looking to replace that position. And I'm proposing to replace that position with a full-time position so that we can give the adequate resources needed in order to get these code violations cleaned up.
You picked a great meeting to come to because we're going to review this. We have the citywide cleanup scheduled for this year.
Well, not scheduled yet, but we're going to schedule it.
It was scheduled for last year, we didn't do it because of the pandemic, we're not making an excuse. And I've asked Amanda to put in the budget, to the budget committee, and then we'll come to the council in the fall. That will put money in there on an annual basis instead of doing it every 3 years or something, so that stuff piles up more and more, quicker and faster. So we have, I think, $15,000 for last year and 15 for this year, so we'll have a budgeted $30,000 allowable for, budgeted to use for 2022. The last one we had was like 40-some thousand bucks, but we haven't done it for quite a few years. If we back up to when we used to have it a few years ago, everyone, it was probably somewhere between $17,000 and $20,000. So we believe we may have to raise the 15 to 20 or 25, but we want to have it on an annual basis. I've gotten, like I say, video came to with the snow melting, everything, as I said earlier, what it looks like around. I got 8 letters from that now that are going forward progressively or proactively, excuse me, which have not been as well as we should have. The 8 letters we got that was sent out by Steve, our city attorney, in the last 3 or 4 days to address some of this. We've got a long ways to go, that's for sure. I agree with that. I apologize to everyone who get this going forward, doing it the right way. With Bill retiring and working part-time, as Amanda said, begun in June, we have in our meeting to hire a full-time code enforcement person that will work 40 hours a week, and he or she, whoever it is, will go up and down the streets and into the alleys and take pictures. And it's in your group, and anyone can speak as you want to. That's what we're here for. So if you want to say something, you're welcome to come up and do it. But to address it, get addresses and pictures, and that code enforcement person, we have one of the city staff, as well as girls in front that will keep track of when the 7 days runs out, or the 10 days, whatever it is, so the notice doesn't say, gee, the 10 days are up, or what the hell was what the heck it was 2 weeks ago, why hasn't anything been done, just like everybody is wondering, scratching their head, or really just frustrated as heck, I understand that. So we'll be keeping time on that so they go forward, and then it'll go to Steve, our city attorney, and then it'll go whatever the ordinance allows, whether it's 7 days, 10 days, whatever it is, that then we'll take the next step and go to the fine, to the citation, and the letter show that if they don't do that, we request that they're going to go to jail. It's exactly it's exactly what's stated on some of these letters that we've gotten in the last 3 days that Steve's got on.
Yep, and just, so right now our process is that, we send out a letter, they have the allotted days that they're given, and then if it's not cleaned up, we're sending a violation notice with a fine for the next letter, and essentially we give them a shorter amount of period to get it cleaned up, and then if that's not taken care of, then we involve Steve. So, I think in the past, there's been we haven't followed the ordinance as to the number of days allowed, and it's been very flexible, and we're looking to change that up. And I think we have the opportunity now with the new code enforcement in the position.
Full-time going forward. Did you want to add anything to what I said, Steve?
The process is pretty simple from a logistics standpoint. The code enforcement officer hasn't got cooperation, he sends it to me. I think today I did 3 or 4 letters to residents, copied the owner of the home if the resident is in rental. I give them 10 days to correct the deficiency, or at least make a good faith effort to correct it. I have a calendaring system that tells me what the 10 days are up. I usually add 3 days because our mail goes to Minneapolis before it comes back. Then I contact the code enforcement officer again, make a suggestion of what we're going to do. We have recently and in the past actually gone to court, taken the property owner to court. The judge invariably orders that they spend 30 days in jail. However, the judge stays in jail on 10-day increments. So at the end of so many days, the person hasn't made any good faith effort, and they report to jail for 10 days. They're out in 7 for good time. Wait another 30 days. If they don't do anything, they go back to jail. Wait another 30 days, and then anything, they go back to jail. That's been a very forcible arm, but it's really the last resort. And we do have some pending right now.
Sir.
So, and the city statute makes it also a misdemeanor, but we find that if we do the civil penalty, as I just explained, rather than charging it to crime, they can pay the fine and there's no cleanup. That's, in a nutshell, what my office does.
Lynn, you had a question?
What about some of the abandoned houses? The houses that been sitting empty for years, there's trees through the roofs, they're just sitting there for years, they've been sitting.
If they go back to tax forfeiture, they have to be delinquent 4.5 years, 5 years, between 4 and 5 years, they gotta be delinquent. Then it goes back to the state of Minnesota, it's tax forfeited. Then the state, the Whatcom County, or the county, because it's in here, the Whatcom County is in charge of them progressing forward on behalf of the state of Minnesota. So some of them have said a couple, 3, 4 years, wonder what that's going on. It's because we didn't believe it was prudent to spend $30,000 to $40,000 to haul a house to the dump if the lot's worth $500 when it's clean. So we went to the next step. So the 4.5 years, and there's a couple of them, one on 10th Street and one on 2nd Avenue that just transferred title to a new owner, but the one on 10th Street, which everybody has seen for a long time, that is now, the tax forfeiture is up, and we've been collaborating with the county, that we do it as a joint effort to spend the money to be more prudent with spending it, with the cost of getting it raised all to the dump and repaired. So you'll see some of that 4.5 years delinquent before anything happens. When like why isn't it sooner? We can send something and Steve can get a judgment or a lien to haul it away, but if you're spending $30,000, we believe that there's a better, more frugal way to spend the money or have a county with the county cooperatively to, maybe we can have some in-kind labor and hauling it away or doing some of the demolition. I don't know if that answers your question. Mr. Keel, yep.
I was just curious what the time frame is. I know it's quite a process before it actually gets to the courts. But what is the time frame from the time that the party that has a disaster or mess, whatever, to clean up, they get the letter? How much time are they given? I guess what is, and I don't know if you could give me an actual pinpointed time frame of how many days, but I don't know, a ballpark area of how many days do they have to get this cleaned up before the court process actually gets implemented? You know, is it?
I give them 10 days. If they make a good faith effort, I give them more time. If they don't, then we proceed accordingly as to whatever.
So from the time that they get the letter, they have 10 days?
So well, like I said earlier, we've typically been very flexible, so I think that it's been up to the code enforcement individual as to how many days he's gonna give. We have not followed the ordinance as to it's 3, 5, 7, 10. We have not. We've been very flexible, hoping that if you're, kind and nice and flexible, that they will reciprocate that and clean up. We're seeing that maybe that's not necessarily happening.
The reason I'm asking is because, as you all know, I was here about a year ago for this very same thing. And I fought for a year to get rid of a stack of tires. And at that time, I believe that it was discussed and talked about that these timeframes are going to be held to a very rigid time frame that these people aren't going to have forever in a day. And I guess I'm just looking to make sure that is going to happen. The flexibility in saying and being wishy-washy, well, if you're wishy-washy once with somebody and you're not going to force them to clean something up, they're going to expect that same behavior again. And they're going to take that piece of paper, they're going to throw it in the trash, and that pile of junk is going to sit there again. I've got a stack of tires behind my house again, and it's like, are you kidding me?
As well as 10 days, as well as if that person doesn't have to do it, it spreads around so they don't go from 1 to 10 to 20 to 50.
I'm very confident that having a full-time person dedicated to this position will help. When you have somebody who's who's working anywhere from 20 to 40 hours, or 20 to 30 hours, things just get missed and they fall through the cracks, and we don't have a good system of calendar notifications and tracking. Things get missed, and we've been seeing that, and we're going to address it and move forward by fixing it.
We're not here to give excuses.
No.
We're not
Yeah,
taking that as an excuse.
no, I know you're not. I guess, I just want to see, I don't know, a more stern approach to, if you got a mess, well, dang it, you're either gonna clean it up or we're gonna take some action and we're done being wishy-washy, we're done being pushovers.
Anytime in manner.
I mean,
Is there some there now?
absolutely, of course there is.
Yeah, Cory.
I have a comment about her situation on Lynn's. The tires, for example, they should probably have a receipt of where they disposed of them. Because otherwise they're taking them out of that backyard, they're going to the road ditch on Metal Arc, and somebody's got to clean them up again. My wife and kids and I clean Metal Arc up every year, and it's bad. And when the tree dumps close, it all gets dumped on the gravel pit. So something needs to be done with that too.
Yeah, they haul stuff out too.
Garbage or tires, goes to
Yeah.
landfill, get a receipt, goes to the county, get a slip, something. If they're getting a citation, they should have proof of where it went. With the building demolition, I had 2 different situations. City of Darfur had a bad house fire a year ago. The fire marshal deemed the building unsafe. The city was able to force the homeowner's policy, insurance policy, to do a demolition, and my bill went direct to the homeowner's policy. We didn't have to try to get money out of the homeowner.
To the insurance?
Insurance paid the whole bill. It's done. The house has been gone since last June, and the fire was a year ago.
We have an ordinance in fire
And I
In
think
case there's a
there's,
fire, we can go to the insurance company.
yeah, and there's quite a few unsafe structures in town that are because of fires. Another example is the feed mill in Darfur. City inherited it. There's grant money, not necessarily grant money, but there's low interest loans up to 2%. 2% loans after 3 years. The first 2 is no interest. 15-year terms, 100% of demolition costs it will cover, and then 50% of the loan can be forgiven if you can get the property developed.
And we utilized that in how long the old hospital to the dump of $375,000 from the state of Minnesota, of which we utilized that and then for the first 2 years, you pay 50% back, the same program.
Yep.
The city of St. James, we did that for the hospital. So
And this was available still last fall. The elevator just got, their feed mill got done this winter. And now it sounds like there's another grant opportunity available for demolition. And this was all, both projects were done by the mayor of Dartford by himself. He's got no help there. You know, it's a small town, but it's getting cleaned up and fairly quick when something happens, so. I got a printout of the
Yeah, you
So
bet
why
state
do you
website
put-
stuff.
Why do you put these houses up for sale to like auction if you can't live in them or anything? That's my question with that house next to my other house. And you burn down and has a tree, you know?
The ones that went back to.
Yeah, why do you guys keep selling it or, you know?
What's the address, Jack?
The one that's next to my other house, the 1008 Fifth Avenue South,
Yeah, okay.
that one that has the tree, I'm sure everyone can see it when they drive by there, by the south side.
So the question is,
So who puts it up for sale each time, you know, if they can't live in it, and then the doors are all open, like, I don't know, if kids go in there.
typically the lender would do it, whoever has the mortgage, like the one on Second
The
Avenue.
county already has it,
Who does?
that was, who has it, Donnie?
It's called Home that does the auction.
County has the- says the other.
Because it was tax forfeited again, so then it went back to the state of Minnesota. and
So when would that get burned down, or?
It would have been, I don't have, whatever the ad in the paper would show, the date would have been when it's offered for sale by the county.
No, because I've been after that for years already too, I'm sure I've asked you as well, what they would do with that relief for you. I know I've been after the fire department too, and they said they would do it too, you know, so I don't know.
Give me the house number, the address.
It's next to my, you can write my house and I'm sure you'll get the house on the corner right there, it's 1008 Fifth Avenue South.
Fifth.
And I have a picture of it too right here.
Okay, you need to bring it.
And that big tree. While you're the customer, it goes on my other house.
Did this property not come up? Came through last year, or they?
Yeah, that's like I can, that's one, Jasmine. That's the one that went back for tax forfeiture, and then it has since changed hands for, changed ownership to someone else, and then they were trying to sell it again. So I don't know where, and that was within the last 30 days, but I don't know who currently has the ownership, and we'll find it out. Because it went back to the state of Minnesota, and then the county took over, and then the county had a sale for it, and somebody bought it on the sale, so we'll talk to Kelly Paul.
Oh my God. So it'll sit there a couple more years.
No, it should, but, so that we can get back at it, let me see, I think I got the phone number.
Yeah, that house has been there for like.
You got your number on
Forever.
I got your number, so we'll.
Yeah, and Nani is witness too, because I've talked to her too, asking her, you know,
Well,
about.
I think we talked about it last fall, it
Yep.
just came through, and
It's
it
they-
was insurance auction at that time, and that's all I knew.
Yeah,
So we'll find out if Kelly Paul can get you better information as to who physically owns it now, and where it's at as far as.
yeah, because they said it was a building, so I don't know why they keep selling it.
I agree with you.
I think what they're probably doing is selling it.
You can keep it, Yuri, so you can remember.
Okay, great.
Oh, I'm gonna forget.
We'll find out where the ownership is. And
updated.
That's what they try to do.
I would just like to say that we're all concerned too. If anybody lived in my neighborhood, I live in the slums of St. James, I always joke, too, and then there's for property value of my home too, and stuff, so we know that it's a very, very bad problem.
And then when you have little kids too, because there's little kids.
We have a house that burned down probably 15 years ago that is still sitting there, in our neighborhood, so, and the insurance got messed up, so that's, well, everything is.
Leaning's boss, Chris?
One of the things that's been clearly stated was about what's responsible for the homeowner whenever, a property is questioned, they lay out, the warning, the letter, the time frame, things like that. But within the city statutes, it does say that if it goes beyond there, the city takes charge, the city will do the removal of the debris, and then the city itself will actually go ahead and claim the repayment from the property owner. So I guess.
Levied against the property.
Yeah, so I just, I think yes, it's frustrating these properties are like this. Yes, it's frustrating we have individuals within our community that would let their property get like this, but it's also a plea to the city to, okay, if they're not gonna do their part, will you make sure you follow through so that will get cleaned up, because obviously it's affecting our property taxes, it's gonna affect home sales, things like that. And then from there on out, I don't wanna say it's a problem, but from there on out, it is the city's problem to gain that money back. It's no longer the other residents who have houses around there. So I guess.
Ability to levy it on the taxes for the
Yep.
next year, so that it'll eventually get paid because it goes on to the tax. Rate.
Right.
You're correct.
Okay. Okay, but is that next step being taken? When these letters, and will this next step be taken? When these letters are going out and whatnot, is that something the city can say that, yes, an individual gets to X point, legal has stepped in, they've done their time. Will that next step be had? Will the city schedule cleanup for that property?
And we believe we will not, because we explained to getting a new code enforcement officer and getting something timely done to all of your satisfaction. We should know what's going on. The other thing I would ask, if you took some pictures that you brought up, if you're willing to, if you desire, you want to go out and take some more and have the address and bring them to us, that'll speed it up as well, so you're welcome to do that should you desire. Certainly, I'm obligated to just report what did you say, Sherry?
I was just teasing, I said, so everybody can be driving around with their town with their Google Maps camera.
Is there an email that if that does happen, that will do the pictures to expedite the processing of it, that we can send these pictures to?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yep, there is backlash, so that's.
It's right in here. It's right in here. And you made reference to it in their general request for videos. Yep, it does.
No, my understanding, like, say there's a house that's inhabitable and, the windows are boarded up, there's rodents running in and out, it's half burnt. As long as the property owner pays taxes, the city can't do anything about it. Is that?
City can do
Okay.
that.
But can you force them to get rid of the house, or?
The city can condemn the property, the city has eminent domain authority, and would have to compensate the owner for the value of the property, which would probably be the value of the lot. If the
Okay.
building is, the problem in the past has been, not in recent past, the cost of demolition has been so great because of the asbestos issues. It's been some time ago, but I remember one home several years ago, when the value of the dollar was a little different, was $16,000 in asbestos. So we do have the authority. The problem is sometimes the financial aspect.
Very carefully of the cost.
That seems to be another, issue. You got an old house that sits there forever, and the yard may not be bad or junk around my house, but the house sits there, and I was just curious how that.
And we have done that in the past.
Okay.
I have another question, kind of to bounce off of what she was suggesting about enforcing that the city will come and clean up. Now, I understand that the availability of city employees to do something like that is probably pretty limited, because you're gonna have to gather up 4 or 5 people, or however many, depending upon the mess. Is that something where you could utilize like the sentence to serve, where these people who, have to do community service, could we utilize that program to get these people who have to serve community service and gather them up to do the cleanup? So it isn't, so we don't have we don't have the resources, we don't have the people. Is that a program where we could reach out to, those sentenced to serve community service or whatever, and say, hey, we have this for that?
We used to do that as we cleaned up the parks, as Sentenced to Serve, but unless the county has changed that they did not renew their agreement with Sentenced to Serve, I need to check and see if they were, so maybe somebody already knows that they have. The last time we talked, they had not, they did not renew the agreement. Just recently.
They have, it's just youth Sentenced to Serve, and they are scheduled for May to walk the woods by the trailer park and by the water tower. It's youth that do it, it's not a full-blown Sentenced to Serve, but it's youth, and they are gonna walk the woods along the railroad tracks in May. In that area, that's what it's
We used to utilize the Lincoln County a few years ago, and they did a lot of that stuff, absolutely, they did, that's, you can see them out shoveling the sidewalk at the courthouse, or all kinds of things, that clean up some of our parks as well.
That's a little bug in my neighbor's ear, I guess.
Jason, do you have another question?
No, that was that. I was just gonna talk about that.
Anybody else have anything that we have to sure welcome to listen we're here for?
Well, I'd just like to comment, I mean, I hope there's a few people here, but I know there's a lot of other people out in the community that think the same way we do, and we just hope you guys as a city and the city council take the next steps and make it, because obviously we care about our town, and that's why we're here, and we hope you guys can kind of follow through and make things look better.
Pay attention to what you're asking, yes.
The code enforcement position is open until April 11th, of which then we'll do interviews, and I'm sure if somebody has to give notice, so we're looking for that individual to start the 1st of May. It's kind of my target projection, just.
What's the pay for that?
I don't know off the top of my head, like $29 maybe? I don't know what it,
I
I
mean,
don't know.
was it like 40-something, 49,000, 43,000, $43,000? If you know nobody,
Plus benefits.
you know anybody that's interested, that's paid position.
Yeah, plus benefits.
Why do you not have any, is there no applicants? Is that
Oh,
why?
we have a lot of that.
Oh.
But that's the hard.
I'm just letting you know when it closed and kind of the timeline of when we're looking to get somebody hopefully hired and in place.
$29 an hour, but $40-some thousand annually.
Yeah.
Approximately.
What are the requirements? The requirements, so we know someone.
Requirements.
Somebody with a camera?
You know how to drive all day?
There's no.
I mean, high school education.
How long do you know how to drive?
I think the
Is there anything else? Just,
So on the taxpayer side, the way I see it, the city's avoiding condemning these places because then they're incurred, the cost is all on them.
Well,
But
it's on,
what's,
I don't know necessarily that we're avoiding it, we're probably delaying it based on if there's asbestos or something, we're gonna spend $60,000, maybe it's not. If it's 2 or 3 years into the 5 years, maybe then it waits so that we can cooperate with the county, because ahead of that, if we do it, then the county probably will not participate, or they certainly would not be obligated.
Yeah.
But when it goes to the state of Minnesota, then the county has to take care of it for the state of Minnesota, then they're automatically in there.
but by waiting, can you put a value on a injury or a fatality to a kid or an adult if they happen to be in or near one of these structures or anything in town?
I don't have an answer to that, Corey, I don't know.
To me, there's a point where it's just gotta get done.
I agree. I think we're all in agreement on that, Corey, I don't think we're disputing what you're saying. Anybody else have anything you want to add, or Dan, anything else you want to add? Yeah, you bet, Margaret.
I don't know if it's more a question or a comment, just by listening.
Pardon me?
I don't know whether it's a comment or a question, but a lot of people have a lot of concerns and they want answers. So then, we're gonna have an answer tomorrow, but what I think is like, if I came back in a month to a council meeting, can I have the expectation, me personally, but can I have the expectation that you would have some answers, something tangible to be able to show us that something has been done other than it looks like we're just kicking the can down the road? Because we all care, and then we go back, and then several months later, we all care, and we all care.
Well, that's why I wanted to communicate the timeline of when we're gonna get the new code enforcement in, because there's gonna be time that we have to train and work through the process of how we expect it to be done. We have the great opportunity that there is somebody new that we put the expectation of this is how it's gonna go. So,
I have a
in
question.
a month, probably not, but yes.
But to get a progress report, yes, you should be able to do that as to what properties we have seen, as much as we can give out, other than, because of privacy, some of that we can't, but some, that whatever we can give out, we certainly would be able to give a progress report. That's kind of what we're asking. So
Yeah.
Where anybody's at on the.
Because if nobody asks, maybe you're doing things that you don't know, but if you don't see the difference, you assume that you're not doing anything.
Correct. Yep.
Would
I'm
you
sorry.
have-
Yep, go ahead. Yep.
So will your next code enforcer actually enforce codes?
Instead of being picky and choosy.
We believe that that person, he or she will, at least directed, feel at least directed to, if you have to go to our city attorney, whatever it is, yes.
I'm gonna say, yes, my expectation for the code enforcement is that they will actually read the code and enforce.
They'll be able to get out of the vehicle, walk around and check stuff rather than sit and pick up.
That's the expectation that who we hire is going to be capable of this job.
Who's gonna train the new code enforcer?
Not the one that's retiring probably, but someone else will have someone from the city that will go out and explain our expectations and show them and drive around as to what we expect them to do, he or she to do.
We do have a support position within the city hall. One of the gals that sits up front helps the code enforcement and make sure that the process continues on. So between her and myself, we will get the expectation that we're able to.
That sounds more like administration
Physically show.
than actually going out and showing them. Is someone actually going out and showing them what needs to be?
Well, I mean, I think the code's pretty clear as to what the violation is, and I'm hoping that we hire somebody that is able to read, interpret, look, and fix.
But we will bother them to see that
So
he or
would you be
she
able to
goes
start
out.
doing that then?
I'm sorry, Jasmine?
So would you, Amanda, right?
Yeah.
So would you be able to start doing that then, going out, if you're gonna train them, you and the other gal are gonna start training, would you be able to
Well,
start?
we're gonna
going
train
out?
them on the process, but we're hiring a full-time person to execute the, you know.
So would there be a meeting so we can find out like what the progress is?
Yeah, that's what Margaret has just asked, but you got Jasmine.
What date
Yes.
do you have for that?
That's just council meetings.
We meet every 2 weeks, there's probably not gonna be anything in the next 2 weeks to speak of, other than the 8 letters that are already been out today, that we're still in the process of doing something to these properties, excuse me. But, so if we get the new code enforcement person on here, she in May, it's probably gonna be, it could be the 1st of June, but for sure by then or ahead of that, but probably not gonna be the next meeting in April, which would be the 19th or 20th. Should have some kind of expectation or a report of what's happening in the first meeting in May, first and third Tuesday that we meet. Yes, sorry. Oh, just a minute, I'm sorry.
Do you have to have a code enforcer? Why can't the police department do it? They're already getting paid, they're already using the gas, they're already going through the entire town.
They don't have the, they don't have the resources to take this on.
Cause I had, I'll get a metal arc, I had a bag of garbage with addresses in it. I brought it into town to the city cops. He asked where I found it. I said on Metal Arc. He says, you gotta go to the sheriff's department. I said, these people live in town. And he would not do nothing with it. I threw it on the street. I said, now it's your problem. And he took it.
I'm not so sure that's the diplomatic way to do it, but you can do whatever you want. If you
Got my
got
point
frustrated,
across,
do it
then
for
he
you.
took care of it.
And then you can do what you want within the law for it. I don't agree with that, but that doesn't mean that I'm right, you're wrong, or you're right, and I'm wrong. but we need a person that physically go out, other than the police department, to go and look at the properties and review them, and take pictures, and make documents so that they can get it to our city attorney to do the next step. I'm sorry, Sherry.
I just got I don't know, maybe just a statement. First of all, I want to say thank you to everybody that came today, probably because of this particular subject. I know I stood here alone a year ago, and it was frustrating. Just let us know. So I guess what I'm maybe wanting to present or something is so that, are the people that are here, the people that you know, are you guys willing to do anything also to help the situation? Like if the city reaches out and says, hey, we're gonna, we're gathering volunteers to go and clean, whatever. Are you guys also willing to put in some labor? Because I know I sure am. I mean, if I'm given the opportunity to go and clean something up, I'll jump at the opportunity.
I mean, I know that I've gone through with young kids and they're more than willing. If our young kids are more than willing
Right.
and excited about it,
Right.
we should lead as examples.
Exactly. I think we as members of the community also have to be willing to contribute to the situation. We can't expect the people that sit around that table to take on this burden all on themselves, and it shouldn't all be on the city. I mean, this is a city problem, it's a community problem. So I appreciate that the city is willing to do some things and do what they can to enforce these codes and maybe get a new person in the position that will enforce the codes. But I think we as a community need to pull together as well.
As long as it stays clean.
No, I agree.
That's-
I agree with you. That's just.
We can
too.
put in
It's-
a lot of time, right?
It's a scary
Yeah.
situation
But
because
that-
if you go
that's
in and you
what this is
clean
about,
a
to
place
keep it-
up and these
keep
people
it
are
that
like, oh, look, if they came and they cleaned
We
it
can
up,
help.
we're enabling them to do
Needs
what
to
they
stay there.
Just what Dan said, we believe
It's
that
slippery slope.
the city
I know.
cleanup that we want to schedule for this year will help
Yep.
substantially.
Yep.
We did 3 years ago, that's how we had it from 17 to $43,000, because a bunch of stuff showed up. So we still believe, I only had one person that argued that it wasn't taxpayers' money well spent. I think the overwhelming majority believe that that's good spending, food spending, taxpayers' money, to clean up the community litter. So it does nothing else. What the heck is the difference? So get it out, so we can haul it away.
You stop people from going around the curbs and picking stuff up and putting it in their yard. That's the problem.
That's your upside.
That's honestly, there's people with load pickups up and then you still see it in somebody else's yard.
Or they bring it out to the country roads where we live and then we have.
So, I mean, it is perfect. Yes, we do need that, but I don't know if we can stop somebody from grabbing stuff.
That's probably a challenge. Hi, Gloria.
How can someone be condemned from a house and have left that house and be allowed to go to another house and present that same type of situation they just left? And now there's animals coming from there, and there's.
Okay, I'm going to repeat the question because some didn't hear it, Gloria. How can a person, if the house they're in is condemned, move to another house and start over and do the same thing again as they did in the previous house?
Because condemnation action is a civil action, it just applies to that particular portion of property that's condemned.
I don't know if you heard that or not.
Can't hear a thing back here.
Because that condemnation action is a civil action, not a criminal action. It would only apply to a particular parcel of property that's being condemned. That's a good question, but there's no good answer.
But the house stuff from the one house to the next house. And this house, the second house is becoming the same situation.
It is the same.
It's front and back.
And that's one of the letters that have gone out, but we need to keep
I've
them.
been in that neighborhood 53 years and I never experienced. And she's been saying,
I know that house we're talking about, yes.
That's good.
Yep, I understand that.
thank you.
Yep. Anybody else? Jim, anybody? Okay, if there's any other questions, we will address, at least play our plan to go forward, and you're welcome to come to future council meetings or to stop and see how we can give you an idea of a specific property that you're asking. And Sherry, thank you for saying we were elected by all the people, so it's our responsibility to get something figured out here in a timely manner. We believe we will be doing that going forward now, but it is all of us in the community. It's good if you're, as I asked before, if you're willing to go around and take some more pictures or give us an address, it'll speed up the process. Anything you can do to help that would be beneficial. So if you're willing to do that, that's great. Thank you in advance, and if not, that's okay too, but if you're willing to do that, that would help us.
One other comment, I've dealt with the city of Wyndham as far as cleanup, and they have done numerous times, once the citation's written, they're past their time to clean it up. The street department goes themselves personally, cleans it up, and it's gone. And it gets put on their taxes. So.
Great, thank you for the information. Anybody, anything else? Great. If not, thanks everyone for taking the time to come here and give us your concerns, and we'll do our best to address them kindly and not just give excuses or flimsy answers. So we'll go forward, hopefully to your satisfaction. It's not going to go as fast as everybody wants, but we believe the first step is going to be the citywide cleanup. And again, I'm not making excuses to get some of the stuff started. Maybe that'll carry on to do some more stuff. And we're addressing the one that you mentioned, Gloria, as well. Just to reiterate to you that we are addressing that. I agree with everything you said this afternoon. Anything else you want to add, Dana?
Maybe this was already stated, is that, are you, for the citywide cleanup, is that going to be curbside or is that going to be a haul it to a location? Maybe that's already.
No, that's okay. Council hasn't decided yet. They'll have to decide whether it'll be to a place. We've done it both ways in the past.
Yeah.
It'd be a better way to do it.
What's that?
Haul it somewhere.
Well,
But then
but
some
then,
people
but
can't.
then you got the people that don't have the means to haul it. So
We'll be in
that's-
Wellspring and some organizations that help.
Oh, yeah.
For them.
We're discussing it in the staff assessment.
Fair enough.
The two problems I see with curbside.
Pardon me?
The two problems I see with curbside cleanup, it's more cost for the city probably. And the garbage moves from one house to the next and it's on the curb next year.
Yep.
So.
That's one of the concerns.
And if they don't haul it, those are the ones that are usually the continuous problem.
So there's no perfect solution for it, but we will try and do our best. Anything we can do will help, obviously, whether they go to the site or whether they go to the curb. And you're right, the stuff, if you put it on the curb, it'll, two things will show the next house down here, because they look at the side, maybe you should have picked it up, and then we'll go back on their curb. You're right. Okay, thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Take your
Thank
time.
you.
Have a great night, rest of your night.
I don't think it's wrong. Yeah, I
Appoint Bill Nelson as the new water supply superintendent. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye. Be well.
We weren't able to say
Consideration to appoint support special senatorial.
The personnel committee interviewed Heather and approved to hire her as the new support specialist at City Hall, at a grade 4, step 1, and she is anticipating to start April 25th.
Second.
All, any further discussion or questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 12H, job posting, approved job posting, water operator, because Bill is now our superintendent.
Right, so we're a little short now on the water department. I did post it internally until Friday, and then we will get it in the newspaper for 3 weeks, conduct interviews and move forward.
Is this gonna be internally first or?
It is, yep, until
Right now,
Friday,
at this point?
yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
So,
Second.
Sue, any further discussion or questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Consideration accept resignation of Andrea, EDA Director. Andrea?
She wasn't able to be here tonight, she was a former committed, and her farm is growing exponentially, and she wants to take time to, invest into that.
For family business.
Yep, and, she will continue to stay on as a contractor as the EA board allows, so we are going to look at replacing.
On a contract basis, maybe 1 day a week, but if we have an issue, she's agreed to continue on with our CFS project that's going forward as well. She's gonna stay, so she stay with it.
Yeah, so we're gonna have a nice transition. She's not leaving because of anything, just, I mean, really, she just wants to focus more on her farm, and it's coming up to be farming season, so.
Do we need to hire a headhunter for this type of thing or not?
No, we don't have, no, we're gonna discuss some things with the EDA board, really the EDA budget doesn't allow for, the capacity that we're looking at, so we're gonna try to be creative and, fill the position, locally, especially what we're looking at, so.
What'd you say?
It's almost a record.
Good job, Hannah, proud of you.
Very
good. And so your mom and everybody else. Just so you know.
You tell her.
Any further discussion or questions? I would ask you to please send a letter.
Yeah.
Thanking her all as well. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried unanimous. Sue.
So, I went with today's discussion, but I was watching the, city news the other night, and the city of New Hope can, abandon properties, or whatever, and they tear them down, and then they give the land to anybody that's willing to build a house there. And that's how they're restoring their old neighborhoods. So I'm hoping someday that we can get to that point too.
We had a program a few years ago, and we got a grant from the state of Minnesota, and we hauled 5 RAZE, we hauled 5 houses to the dump, and we sold it to the adjoining neighbors for $500 a house. It wasn't a program that you give them a lot for free, they can build another house, we sold them for $500. It's a grant. We checked in that again, it's not available anymore, but we'll continue checking.
And they said that, so if somebody comes in is willing to build a normal home, not like the ones that are, $300,000-$400,000 ones, but that makes the other neighbors feel like, oh gosh, I should do a little work on my house too, and so it's helping the whole neighborhoods.
Exactly, 100% accurate. Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
All I'm gonna say is that I'm, communicating with the city of Amelia, because they have a very unique program on how to, so I'm putting some numbers and some things together so that we can have a program that we can get these houses demoed and some rebuilt.
I had a talk with someone from Amelia, and they said there's a farmer that's coming in and buying up bad houses and then getting rid of them and selling the property or whatever. So we need somebody like that.
I struggle with sometimes the lot is not worthy of, big enough to put a house up to today's.
If it's a 50-foot lot.
Yeah, so that's a struggle, and I think that's why sometimes they get sold to the neighbor, which is great, because it can be place-based for whatever it's gonna be.
But it's still.
Yes, it's taken care of, and I totally agree with everything that was said tonight, and there's not many people here. I've lived here forever, and I don't like what's happened in the last 15+ years, and I look at myself and I think, I've been on council for that long, and it looks like sometimes.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah. My mother would not be pleased, but anyway, so I agree with everything, and we have been trying. You might say it doesn't look like we're trying, but we have been trying. We've not had the proper things in place. Amanda is creating something now with teeth in it. And we're gonna look for someone who can execute that position. And then with having the support staff in the city hall who's going to put the information up, follow it up, push the button, and in 7, 10 days or whatever, flags back up again. We've never had that program set up, so we're getting that stuff set up. When she came here, she's found a lot of things that have been neglected for longer than most of us know.
I have a question.
So she's digging with a shovel on some of these items and, making progress, although nobody sees the progress. It is happening, and so,
Well, and the formal complaints, now we have formal complaints, where before it was just, I don't like it, and nothing on paper. Now it's getting on paper so that if it does go to court, there's proof that we've done steps A through Z. That's,
We need tangible ones.
yes, yeah.
I have a question about the position, the code enforcement position. Who's the supervisor for that position? Okay,
City manager.
okay, so, I mean, I don't know, I don't even know how to say it politically correct.
Don't worry about it, just say it, it's okay.
Well, I mean, code enforcement hasn't been,
You want the accountability.
yes, thank you, that's the correct
Hold
term.
that person held.
I want that person to be held accountable, because I don't think in the past that position has been held to any standard of accountability. Hence the reason we're in the position that we are. And I just want to know that, moving forward, there's going to be some accountability, like, yeah.
Well, I'm gonna defend our past one to a certain point, is that he didn't have the authority, he could go talk to somebody, but he didn't have the paper back up, the proof, where now we are going into those steps, so.
Sure,
And so the new person will have more teeth to be able to try to do this.
I'm not trying to throw him under the bus, I like him, Bill and I are friends, so, I'm not, that was not my motive.
You want results.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
yeah.
I have nothing.
Bill,
Congratulations.
water superintendent, are you sure?
I'm pretty sure.
No, I just say thanks for listening to everybody.
Maybe.
Movie this week
Ooh.
is Sonic 2. It's PG, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then also I wanted to mention that we have 55 in the live class on April 21st.
What
So
time?
you can call me at City Hall or it's on the website also.
Is it in the daylight or the nighttime
I
hours?
know, I can go.
What? Is it in the day hours or the night hours?
It is in the day hours, 1 to 5. But we're gonna start setting them up pretty regular now.
Thank you.
It's 55 on live, so when you get to that.
So I missed it,
then you go
I
to-
missed it by a lot of years.
Gene. I lost you.
That's a good class.
No, you No?
Just a reminder, the liquor store is still continuing Monday through Saturday, 9 AM to 8 PM this month.
You two guys, usually there's more people at the meeting than there was tonight, so. Sylvia?
Yes, I do. So I just think that the community is serious about code enforcement, and if you guys know anybody, you should probably tell them to apply, because the bigger the pool, the better the candidate, right? So
Absolutely.
if you know anybody, you should tell them to apply.
Good job, Sylvia. Thank
People
you.
grow.
Motion?
Did we introduce that gentleman sitting next to the guy in the yellow?
Yeah, we did.
Did we already, Mr.
Justin, you're
Yeah.
yeah, he's a.
Okay. Well, a little pressure. I saw him at McDonald's the other day. I just wanted to talk about this here. All right, sorry. You're just gonna go up to the.
They make you go up
That was
there.
an introduction.
Welcome. How's everybody back? Motion to adjourn. Anna, Sue, any further discussion? All in favor, aye. Have a great rest of the evening. Thanks, everyone.
I mean,
Yeah.
Did you have a question?